Good morning, everyone, and welcome to WHCR 90.3 FM, Awaken and Arise on this Saturday morning. And so we're doing something a little different. We are broadcasting over the air, but we are also on video. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that later. This morning, we'll be exploring Feng Shui, the mindful practice of harmonizing living spaces and how it helps to create and sustain a thriving environment that supports the needs and the path to health and wholesome well-being to all who occupy it. As a multifaceted mental, physical, and spiritual human, we must understand that it is all connected. It's all energy. People, places, things, situations, and environments all impact our energetic experience and well-being. So if we're eating healthy food and getting good exercise and doing a host of other good things, but our environments are not energetically aligned and flowing with us, we are not getting the maximum benefit of our efforts. My guest this morning is Patsy Balacchi, a certified Feng Shui and holistic wellness consultant. She helps individuals and families transform their well-being by bridging the gap between their health and their environment. She spends 20 years of experience. She brings us 20 years of experience with energy work, mindfulness practice, essential oils, and flower essences to help clients tap into their energy flow and in their homes and incorporate practical plant-based, cruelty-free solutions to restore health. All super good stuff. Her focus is to create harmonious and nurturing spaces by removing toxins from the inner and outer environments, shifting the energy of the space, and tailoring her practice to each individual's needs. Patsy is the owner of Yantra Design Group, an interdisciplinary graphic design studio based in Miami, Florida since 2001. Her passion for harmony and beauty inspired her to create Zanotica.com, a whole food, plant-based, certified online platform that provides tools for empowerment and wholesome well-being. She currently teaches Feng Shui in Houston and enjoys bringing her message of creative, mindful, healthy, and high vibrational living to her audience. Love it. Patsy offers in-person and online consultations in English and Spanish, and she is passionate about helping individuals who are seeking a better quality of life, a desire to reclaim their vitality, to ideally open new opportunities for personal, spiritual, and professional growth. So I am so happy to welcome Patsy to the show. Patsy, good morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
I know that it is super early for you there. And so I appreciate you joining us this morning. And I wanted to, I introduced you, your bio. I've had the opportunity to speak with you. We've had an opportunity to work together, and I'm just so excited to have you here today. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how we became aware of each other and got to this place. So from your perspective, welcome.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here. Well, it's the universe connects, right? The helpful people in our lives, the refreshing relationships that we nurture. I think that's key in order for us to succeed in life. We can really do it alone. We're social beings. We need companionship in whatever shape or form that is. Sometimes it can happen just being in good companionship with yourself, right? So it all starts within. And I am so fortunate to be here with you because of a mutual, wonderful relationship that we built. And Feng Shui actually brought us together. So I'm so thankful for our dear friend Anna Baldina to introduce us and actually bringing me back to New York City, even if it's just virtually now. It's just an amazing experience for me. So thank you for this.
Yes, thank you. And big shout out to Anna. I just love this woman. I met her about a year ago as I was exploring biofield tuning. And very serendipitously, she popped up on my radar twice. So no accident that I was supposed to meet Anna. And in one of my business ventures, I'm creating a spa and retreat space. And in creating that, I want it to be a comprehensive vibrational experience. And that's why I so much love everything that you're doing, because it is about everything. It's about what we put in and on our bodies. It's about what's in our vibrational experience, which includes people, places, things, situations. And when I'm creating this retreat space, I want my client to be fully immersed in high vibrational experience so that they understand what that looks, feels like, and in some cases smells like. There's so many ways to do it. So I'm looking at it visually, audibly, you know, what we're smelling, what we're eating. It's a complete experience. And so Anna worked with you in creating the Feng Shui Bagua layout for my space. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Bagua is a very practical design system. It's a design map that correlates key areas of your life in 9 different sectors that correspond to various key areas of your environment. So, for example, we will have a relationship area and specifically placed on the Bagua map. And with that, we correlate it to what specific area that's corresponding to. So this will be an actual space, an actual location on your space, but how is that actually building? How is that particular outer environment actually influencing the inside space within you? So as we breathe in, as we eat, as we digest, as we get ourselves surrounded by particular environments, this can affect and influence and impact our lives. So essentially, Feng Shui is a design system working with the outer forces of nature or natural elements that, and actually how we entrain our energy to work with that. If we have a good, harmonious, and balanced health, we can actually sustain a better and balanced lifestyle. But if there's a particular underpinning, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, if something is off balance in your life, that can actually deflect, that can actually act in a negative way. So we must always pay attention how we're vibrating, how we are thriving, how we are taking care of our bodies, our mind, and spirit in order to live in more cohesion, right? In harmony. And to me, that's very important because as I've been practicing for so many years, people tend, even myself, people tend to think balance is so hard to accomplish. You know, it just seems so, it's like such an arduous way to live by. So through my teachings, through my practice and my own personal experience, I have found that if we just switch that word to harmony, which sounds a little more, I would say, subtle and welcoming and nurturing in some ways, how we bring harmony into our lives, how are we in harmony with those around us, how we are in harmony with our own space, and how we're actually tuning in and being a part of a whole that's actually going to help us get to a consistent flow of frequency that's going to maintain a good flow in our lives.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I mean, it's all energy, and we're all connected. And when we can be in harmonious frequency and vibration with everything around us, then we will be. And I think that's where a lot of the discord comes from, is that we are out of touch with our natural rhythm, our natural flow, and what the vibration, the higher vibrations even are. We're kind of not even, like, some of us haven't even experienced it, doesn't even know what it feels like to be in that good vibration on a regular basis and how it can impact our lives. So can you tell me and our listeners how you came into being a Feng Shui specialist, and how did you come into the area of holistic health and wellness?
Well, it's really, really interesting story. So I am glad to share this with you and your audience. I actually got to learn a little bit of the design aspect of Feng Shui when I was studying architecture very early on. As soon as I graduated from high school, I went to school for not even a year, and I actually got pregnant very young. I was 19 and wasn't really taking care of myself at the time. And somehow I developed what is called now preeclampsia, which is toxemia. And basically my body was not able to get rid of toxins in the blood. I developed a uterus infection. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks when I was going to deliver my first son. And basically from all those complications, I contracted hepatitis C from the blood transfusion that I got. So you could imagine, I'm 19 years old. My life was completely upside down. Not only did I disappoint my family, my father, my mother, my career, everything that I wanted to do, but at the same time, I made the choice to have my child. I love his father. It was something, but I knew it wasn't going to last. I knew he wasn't going to be a part of my life. So I made that choice very early on to do this. And everything else that was going to happen with that, consequences, circumstances, however you want to call them, hard lessons. But I never, ever expected to contract a disease from this, right? Later on in life, I get to find out that, we set up different life lessons and contracts in our lives in order for us to fulfill certain paths. And I guess I can honestly say right now that through that, because I was completely devastated for the very first years, after giving birth and just raising my child as a single mom, I did have a lot of family support. My mom and my aunt, everybody, my maternal family was there, my sister. And so little by little, I started gaining a little more confidence in myself again to actually be out there, because I was really depressed for a while. I didn't want to do anything. I was just basically home, and I wouldn't really say wallow, but I was very angry. I was very angry about the situation, and I didn't know how to resolve it, because to me it was like a life sentence. Okay, I couldn't eat. I was completely devastated. I was a mess, I would say. My mom actually thought I was on drugs, you could imagine. But little by little, I started gaining a little bit of my energy back. I decided to go back to school and got back into visual arts, and back then commercial art, and decided I was, pretty good at it. And I really, really enjoyed it. And that's how I got into graphic design. But through that period of time that I was actually getting back into school, I was also doing a lot of spiritual seeking. I was learning about Ayurveda. I was learning about meditation. I was learning about different coping mechanisms to sustain my emotions, my spiritual balance, because I wasn't really looking out for a psychotherapist. To me, that was actually kind of like a weak sign for me to do. So everything that I did was all within. I never told anybody I was seeking out spirituality. I never told anybody that I was actually looking into different ways to connect within myself. And through that search, I came across a wonderful book by Andy Santopietro, who actually brought design, Feng Shui design, with the health factors and how that correlates to one's well-being and wholesome well-being through the chakra energy system. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Right. Because at the time I was so involved in maintaining a well-balanced, very simplistic environment, my space. I've always been pretty rigid, very organized, and wanted things all in place, and learning how I can sort of make up for what I was missing in my life, right? Which was a love relationship, finances, or just, the family environment to me was broken. So there were certain things that I was working on the design aspect of things. ultimately, what I learned later on, until, I don't know, many years back, that I was always looking outside instead of going in. When I was really looking for that confidence, I was missing the confidence within, you know? So I started figuring out, hey, just moving some furniture around can do something. Yes, it's going to help. But if my energy centers are not in full alignment, it's not going to go that far. So I started looking more into how to balance my emotional and spiritual self, because without that, nothing else will happen. So if I'm emotionally stricken, upset, angry, or anything, I got to come to the root. You know, where's that thread coming from? It was a situation that was a trigger, but I needed to go deep within and find where that was causing the trouble, because otherwise life will actually bring you another opportunity to live it, to experience it, to master it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been very important to really dig really deep onto all those layers of myself, because, you know, imagine having to live with hepatitis C. I lived with it for 26 years. Luckily, at the time, back then, I did try different medicines. I tried traditional medicine as well. Didn't work. So I never really found anything that was suitable for my physical wellness until 2016. So it was very interesting to actually put everything together, because it was my Feng Shui teacher who said, okay, so you fulfilled a life career that you wanted to do. You wanted to become a certified Feng Shui, because I've been studying for so long. I went to New York in 2015. I wanted to study with Andy Santopietro. I wanted all that. And it was a beautiful dream come true. But then it's like, okay, so now what? And I'm like, yeah, well, I think I'm going to dwell into Feng Shui as a part of my practice and see if I can work with it with graphic design and, you know, making something really holistic for my client, which really worked great. Because it's like, no, but what about, you know, what about you? What about, you know, the hepatitis? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm living with it. You know, it's fine. It's like, no, but don't you want to look into that? I'm like, well, you know, I'm a vegan now and I'm doing this Ayurveda. I'm really treating myself and doing, it's like, well, Patsy, you know, there's a new drug out there that you should probably want to like look into it. And I was like, I don't know about that. There was a lot of resistance, and I think it triggered parts of the very difficult experiences that I had with the initial drugs back then, you know, in my 20s. Mm-hmm. So, but little by little, and it wasn't that, you know, it wasn't the physical aspect of it. It was the emotional aspect. It was like, do I really want to go back into that space? Because I have to really literally put myself back in time in order to heal that. Yeah. And so what did that bring on to me? A lot of emotions that were repressed. You know, like the physical aspect of healing was probably the most easy transition, because I was able to eradicate it in 3 months.
Wow.
Side effects were, you know, I'm still going through a few things. Nothing major. It's just bruises on my legs and things like that, which I've been very fortunate. But the emotional part, it was like I held so much anger, sadness, feelings of abandonment, feelings of being unloved, feelings of rejection, feelings of not being good enough. What the hell did I do this for? And it brought all those things back to me. It's like, wow, I actually had this opportunity to heal all these emotional wounds that were attached to a circumstance, to a situation that happened. Yeah. And it was that. It hurt more to be left out, you know, as a single mom, and, you know, not having the support from my father at one point. It was really difficult. And I got to come back to it, right? The pattern or something, a situation to clear it. So I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for this, because without it, without the Feng Shui aspect, and I didn't even know that when I came to Houston, I was actually preparing my home, was a complete build up to create a sanctuary for this healing process, which
And
was really, really interesting to me.
that's just the universe working to move and guide you. And thank you for sharing that story. I mean, that is like powerful. How and the bravery, you know, because look, we all go through stuff in our lives, and sometimes we can let it take us down and keep us down. And there is value, you know, your pain is the passage to your power ultimately. And you know, being brave enough and courageous enough to take it on and is a lot, and not a lot of people are able to do it. But I think for those of you just tuning in, you are listening to Awaken and Arise on WHCR 90.3 FM. And if you're watching this video, you'll know that Patsy's been sharing with us about her journey thus far, how she kind of came into her Feng Shui experience, and now supporting other people in clearing and supporting their lives and their overall well-being. And so, Patsy, how do you now, how has Feng Shui impacted your life personally?
Well, for example, not only helping me attain the vitality that I was missing, right? Regaining the confidence that I was able to put myself in a place that I can do it, aligning myself with people in my life that can support me. That was very, very important, because I had to take almost 2 years off from work to finally recoup, you know, the side effects and everything, you know, all that emotional stuff. So I made sure that certain things were in place for me in order to succeed. So everything, something that keeps coming up for me, success comes from those who that are prepared, right? So I'm not saying everything's got to be perfect when you're doing your preparations, but it's aligning yourself, knowing that there's certain indications that you may be missing in your life. For me, it was my health, right? So how do I work with my space? How do I work with my energy centers in order to amplify those things that will bring more harmony into what's missing right now, and able to get to the next level of my healing process, evolution, or human experience? So once I was doing that, once I created not only the harmony within my space, you know, my family nucleus, you know, I'm very fortunate that I was able to communicate a lot here. There's trust. We're able to just be ourselves within our own home. You know, I find that to be a very fortunate aspect of living, because a lot of people don't have stability in their homes, are not able to communicate. They rather spend time at work or with other distractions or attractions, however you want to call it, because they don't want to go within.
Sure.
Right? That there's something missing within a space where they should be able to thrive, heal, and just be by themselves and just refresh, you know, every single day. You come to your bed and you should be a place of sanctuary for you. Yeah. Not many people have that, and not many people think it's that important because they haven't really tapped into it. So to me, knowing that all these different energies within your space, the ones that are going to help you be more dynamic, energetic, right? Like your kitchen, you know, it needs to be clean and healthy in order to make great food and healthy food that's going to sustain your body. You should also have a beautiful bedroom, however simplistic it can be, making sure that, to me, comfort is everything. You know, beauty comes afterwards, but just being comfortable in that. So if your bed is not giving you comfort, change it. Change the placement, you know. So things like that we can take a look at. Or your desk, if you work from home. I work from home. Is it aligned with, inviting good opportunities into my career or mission in life? So there's so many different ways to take a look at it, very practical ways. That's the way I like to teach it, because it's the way that in order for somebody to actually benefit, you got to put the knowledge into practice.
Right. And I think this is so important because it's not something that we're taught, growing up in this country and in many cultures. Some of them are more attuned to the spiritual aspects of this. But many are not. It's your basic stuff, clean your room, whatever. But we're not thinking about the placement of furniture necessarily and how it's affecting the flow of energy in the space, or that energy even affects us. Like, I don't know that most of us are thinking about how the placement of a particular piece of furniture could be impacting how we feel. And I know from personal experience, all throughout my life, like every 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, I just need to move things around. Like, I just have this urge to, I wonder what it'd feel like if I move that chair over there or whatever. And it creates a new energy and a new dynamic within the space that triggers new thinking. And I wasn't, I'm sure it was not like Feng Shui, kosher
But
Feng
it's
Shui.
intuitive,
Like,
and that's basically the practice. It's an
right.
intuitive practice.
Yes, of just moving, going with your feel of where something should be. Sometimes when we feel stagnant, and this was really what would trigger it for me, is when I was feeling stagnant in my own energy, stuck in a situation or a feeling, and I just needed to like get out of it. If I was in a funk, it was like, okay, so if I move this over here, I walk in the room and all of a sudden I have new and different thoughts when I see the arrangement of something, or maybe I'm getting better light, or maybe I'm seeing a piece of art the way I wouldn't have seen it before, that really impacts me energetically.
And I like that. I like that you're bringing that example, because people need to see it. Some people feel it, some people see it. And it depends on how attuned we are to our senses. So, having a good lifestyle, I would say, if you're treating your body right, if you're eating proper foods that are going to help you, be more in touch with yourself, you actually become more connected with what's going on around you. So it almost becomes kind of like common sense. But what happens here, and this is where I feel and I see the disconnect with a lot of people, is that we know that this works. We know that we can do that shift. But what happens? We're way too busy. So we come home, we're tired, we don't want to look at the clutter, we continue walking around with our shoes on. We don't really pay attention to those things that are actually going to accumulate stagnation, like you called it, or accumulate dross, or negativity or dirt, anything that's just not moving. You need to kind of refresh that. And knowing that you're actually implementing some of these shifts, right? Whether it's a cycle for you, for me too.
I never thought about it that way, but I mean, this has been going on since I was in college, and my room was only so big, but I was like, okay, we're just gonna flip the bed to the other side of the room, because I just felt like I needed, and I didn't understand what it was. It was just what I felt I needed to do at the time. So for anyone just tuning in, you're listening to Awaken and Arise. We're talking with Patsy Balacchi, Feng Shui specialist, holistic health and well-being specialist, a lovely soul who is here sharing her high vibrational tips and techniques and philosophy as it relates to Feng Shui and how we can be living better in our lives. So Patsy, can you share with us examples of people, clients that you've worked with, and the types of issues they had, what type of work you did with them, and what the outcomes were?
Well, one good example is working in the family dynamics, working with family. Most of the time, a parent will ask me how to actually create a more peaceful space for their child, because they're feeling anxiety when they come from school. I feel school is very, very stressful, and I also feel that the school environment doesn't really nurture the emotional aspect of the student. So we need to balance that out in order to, so for that, we need to create harmony and peace and a place for the child to thrive at home. So we focus not only on the child's area, his bedroom or her bedroom, but we also need to look at what else is going on within the family dynamics. Most of the time, if a child is acting out, it's because there's something being reflected upon him. He's just basically reflecting back something that's happening at home. And if there's problems with between the parents, or if there's something that is discordant, right, within that, the child is very sensitive. Nowadays, these kids, you call them kids of the new age because they're just so much more in tune with the energies, high vibrational energies, so misunderstood. That's why so many are overly medicated. But I'm not here to speak about that. I'm here to actually provide more harmony into someone's space in a natural way. So we look at how the child his bed is positioned. If there is a bathroom facing his bed, we need to realign, reposition the bed if it's allowed, so that bathroom is not really pointing at him, because bathrooms in bedrooms kind of tend to take away energy. That's just a place where you go and do your thing and, drown in negative draws and all that. So we need to take a look at the positioning of the bathrooms. We need to take a look at the positionings of the bed, and the child and anybody, an individual should always be in command of their dominion. So for the child, for example, his head should be looking, his face, he should be looking at the entrance of his bedroom. That's very important, having a place where he can actually, if there's a mirror in the bedroom, he should be able to look at himself in the mirror, not high enough, not cutting him off, but not really looking at facing the bed, because mirrors energize, they reflect light. So that means there will be more of that energy in that space. We need to actually make the bedroom more stable and peaceful, right? So the child can rest. This is also applies to adults. So if we're going to have mirrors, they shouldn't be facing the beds. Another key point is not having anything under the bed. Mm-hmm. Or where is the clutter coming? If the child has too many toys, if we have too many things or gadgets, electronics, take those away. The other big tip is having no TVs in any bedroom. Yeah. If you have one, if an adult has one, cover it at night. This is a must. There's just way too much electromagnetic fields right now. We're constantly connected to a device. This is not helping our energy system to actually rest. We definitely need this time to disconnect. And from what I'm gathering, this year just started, kind of. It feels like it hasn't stopped. I mean, it's like people are probably sleeping 2 to 4 hours, and that seems to be the usual stance right now. Time is going way too fast. So why continue to stress our energy levels by waking up with a cell phone next to us? I think that's, there's a sense of attachment. There's a sense of urgency, having to respond in emergency response for someone else. But what happens when you are not taking care of yourself? You become sick, you get the flu, your immune system goes low, and what happens? You have to take a couple of days of rest because you're not giving it to yourself. So the universe is going to tell you, hey, you need to take a break.
Yeah, and those are some really powerful tips. And thank you for sharing that. So I've already called out that I need to change my mirror because it faces my bed. So yikes. I'm going to have to figure out something there. But a lot of the other changes can be viewed as extremely radical, like taking the television out of the bedroom. And I think it's these kind of non-traditional things that people have grown up with, televisions in their bedroom, and there are people that can't fall asleep
Right.
unless the TV is going. And then we talk about the EMFs
Mm-hmm.
in the room. And I can say one thing is I took the television out of my room several years ago, and I don't miss it. It would be weird to have it in there now for me anyway. But I also took to turning off the Wi-Fi, putting all my devices either off or in airplane mode
Mm-hmm.
while I'm sleeping, so that that is not interfering with my energy field and how much rest and the quality of the rest that I'm able to get. And I know when I say this to people, sometimes they just look at me like, that's a lot, you know, because they're coming from a place where they've been doing something the same way for years. And trust me, I had a TV in my room for 50 plus years, and then it was just like, you know what? I'm not getting any benefit
Yeah.
out of having this TV in my room. As a matter of fact, it's detrimental to me because it's either keeping me up, or the little blue lights, or the little sounds that everything makes when it's plugged
Yes.
in. And you know, and I think it's a function of also when you get older, you recognize that resources are precious.
Yeah.
Time and energy are precious. And so anything that I feel is a draw or siphoning my energy in some way, I'm quick to, like, let's just shut that down.
Mm.
And it has supported me greatly being able to do just those few things. So my question now is, so when you propose to someone, well, you have to take the TV out of your room or cover it or something, what do they say, and how do you help them understand and ease into acceptance of making some of these changes that feel somewhat radical?
Well, this is a good question because there are many solutions to one problem, which is great. So that's why I really like working with Feng Shui, because it's very practical.
Mm.
But it has been very rare that I actually had to tell, not ask, not insinuate, not suggest, but actually say, you need to move. You need to move your bedroom completely. So most of the time when we talk about EMFs and TVs and cell phones, they're actually, my clients are much more inclined to do it. I don't feel the resistance with them, which is really, really great. The issue is with the kids. Kids have an
Yeah,
issue
I can
letting go of
imagine.
their tablets, letting go of their, their phones. So that's something that we work on as a family dynamic, making sure that everybody's being heard, because there's two sides of the stories, right? They able to communicate, right? And so we talk about, our little addictions that we're building from early on. So this is where we come in and talk about flower essences and emotional balance with essential oils, because if we're not just treating the environment, we also have to treat ourselves in all the shifts and transitions that each individual within a household is going through when they are actually transitioning and making adjustments because of a feng shui recommendation. And it's a lot that happens. I have clients that are really hands-on doing their work, and a lot of positive outcomes come from them. There are those clients who resist certain things, and this is where I come in to guide them. We have a 30-minute conversation later on, and we look at those resistant points. What is causing that? And we go back a little deeper and see where that's coming from. Because myself, I had them, very early on.
We all have them.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, why should I put a particular mirror or a crystal here? I needed to really absorb the knowledge and understand it in different perspectives, and how it's not only going to be a positive outcome for me, but for the entirety of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing that's important. Somebody's asking for a feng shui consultation. It might be an adult, yes, but what is going on with the rest? So whenever I'm doing that, I need to take a look at where are the children sleeping, if they have pets, where are these, how are they sleeping on their beds? Because everything is important. I'm not just tapping into the residents' energy field. I'm looking at everything that lives in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And who would you say is your typical client, if you will, and who can benefit from, because I'm feeling like, of course, everybody can benefit, but who are you seeing? What is the motivating factor for many people to start entertaining Feng Shui as a potential? Do they come into it through Feng Shui, or do they come talking to you about flower essences or essential oils and then Feng Shui opens up? Or what is the path in?
It's actually the other way around. It's actually through Feng Shui, and I let them know that this is a very practical tool to implement that's going to sustain their success where they want to get to, certain goals in their lives. Like, for example, I'm going to be teaching a class on Feng Shui on Sunday. And this is an introductory part on how we're going to align the energies of 2019. Remember, you were talking about shifting in cycles and shifting for energy, because each year corresponds to a number. Each year is also turning into a cycle, right? Universally speaking. So everything needs to be in alignment. So how do we reinforce what we have? How do we harmonize with what we can gain? Because as everything, there's some positives, some negatives. So we need to kind of come into balancing those areas in order for you to prosper this year. So that's, to me, it's where I come in. And this is where I introduce emotional balancing tools, such as the essential oils or flower essence therapies, because it's a transition. It's like everything is therapeutic. It's like Feng Shui is acupuncture for the home. It's a therapy,
I love that.
Yeah, that's happening. So that's been widely, people seem to understand that notion better when we're talking about how the energy comes in through the main entrance of your space and how that influences and touches every single part of your environment, from the walls, the furniture, the colors, the lighting, how that's going to influence you, how is that going to project onto you. So the house basically is projecting what's going on inside you. So to pay attention, I ask my clients, pay attention to where your eye goes or where it doesn't. What are those, areas?
And how you feel about what you're seeing and when you walk into a room. So we have had a great discussion. And one of the things, Patsy, when we were talking about you coming on the show and doing this, we recognized that it's much bigger than, a 40-minute conversation. So Patsy is going to be a recurring guest on the show talking about Feng Shui. Today we kind of just dived in. This was sort of like 101 and getting to know Patsy and her path and her journey, coming to us, how we met. And next week she's going to come on the show again. I'm very excited. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the energies of 2019 and how it's impacting our lives. And I think that this is really important stuff. And, the understanding of energy, for a lot of folks, this all feels very woo-woo, we're talking about energy and things we can't see. But I just ask everyone to really consider what is real and what you can't see, because the feelings we have are not things that we can touch or see, but they are very real in our experience, and they impact us greatly, probably more so than anything else, because it's running through the heart energy. And so it's very important that we pay attention to how we're feeling in that space and be able to be aware of what's affecting it and how we can best support it. So I want to thank Patsy for coming on today and sharing with us. And next week, she will be back again for part 2. And then we're going to continue the series throughout the year, come back, and we're going to sort of unpack Feng Shui and talk about, how its applications and case studies and how it can be used, and answer your questions as well. So you'll be able to find this recording in my Facebook group, The Attractive Mindset for Love, Life, and Business. I'm sorry, The Attractive Mindset for Life, Love, and Business. So you'll be able to find the recording there. I invite your comments and engage with us. Ask questions. If there are questions that you would like have Patsy answer directly, please put them in the comments and we will address them. So stay tuned for more. Thank you for joining us, Patsy. Thank you. Anything you want to leave us with before we sign off today?
Well, I'm grateful for being here and being introduced to your wonderful New York audience. I can't wait to go again soon. So
Yes,
get to do some feng shui around your area, you know, in the
yes.
studio.
Let's do it. I'm ready for you to come. Yeah, I need you
Excellent.
in my space. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.